They always say, when you have a baby, oh, you're going to lose so much weight because breastfeeding just takes it right off of you. True for many people, not true for all people. And I was one of those people. But if you go and buy bigger clothes, that will give you the ability to actually complete the task at hand, which is write the book. And you will be at a better version of yourself to do so because you can actually sit down at your desk and not be all consumed with the fact that your pants don't fit. First, I want to remind you that housework, tasks, and messiness, that is morally neutral. Neutral, okay? It is not something that decreases or increases your value.
Welcome to Amy Liz Harrison's podcast, Eternally Amy, a mum of eight's journey from jail to joy, a Gen Xer who overcame her struggle with alcohol to become a best-selling author and mental health advocate. She shares stories of hope and offers ideas for others struggling with mental health challenges. One thing is for sure, you'll leave with something to chew on. And now, here's your host, Amy Liz Harrison.
Welcome back to Eternally Amy and writers who have ADHD or neurodivergence or any other type of challenge. And these two challenges that I'm going to talk about today are pretty universal. This is just something you will face if you want to write a book. You will face it. And it's kind of one of those, it's a life lesson that can be applied to so many different things. So what I want to talk about is now that you know that it is possible to write a book if you have ADHD, to write a book if you have 10,000 things going on. We want to look at some of those real specifics of those roadblocks that are keeping us from being able to write the book. And so one thing that I really want you to embrace or at least marinate on and really get this idea into your bones is that this is temporary. Writing a book is not forever. It's a concentrated period of time, but it is temporary. So people will ask me a lot of times, how were you pregnant for so long? You were pregnant for full 9 months, 8 times. And I always say it's because it was temporary. There was a clear beginning and there was going to be a clear end. It wasn't like this monumental, I've got to get used to feeling this way all the time type situation. Now, of course, the child is forever, right? Once you have a child, you want to think in terms of, yes, this is going to change my life forever. So that's not temporary, but at least in terms of swollen ankles, cravings, not being comfortable, all of that, right? That was going to be temporary. So what you want to do here, we want to think about this as the long game. That really what we're doing in the grand scheme of life is we are looking at goals that we want to do within our lifetime. And so if one of those goals for you is writing a book, then what has to happen is while that project, among other life things that need to happen, while that project takes place, we're going to have to look at other things that maybe have to be moved to the back seat or the back burner temporarily. Okay? So these are just again, life skills. These are just things that you're going to need to choose. And you're going to have to triage these things, right? So what I want to do is first, here are the two examples that I'm going to use today that hopefully you can apply to your own life and situation. The first one is losing weight, and the second one is getting organized, or whatever you want to call it, division of labor and housework. These are two general stumbling blocks, right, that people come up against. I would say also working in a corporate job or another full-time environment, but I can't speak to that because I don't have experience in that. So these two things, losing weight and getting organized or confronting one's ADHD messiness, those are two things I have a lot of experience with, okay? But both of these things require a lot of communication. And I want to say that at the forefront of this talk. So really, we're talking about like the housework organizational example requires obviously communication with your partner or your roommates or your kids or whoever you live with, if you live with somebody else. If you don't, and maybe you're single and you live at home alone, maybe you want to change that temporarily. Maybe you want to have a friend come live with you, somebody in your life who could move in temporarily and take care of sort of some of the house things that might need to get done while you are temporarily writing a book. But what I want to say is that you can't do that alone. You can't do this stuff alone. So you're going to have to figure out how to support the infrastructure that you have been supporting, right? While you are writing the book. Similarly, with the weight loss challenge, that one's a little bit more, it's a little bit more lofty. It's a little bit more emotional. It's a little bit more internal, even though the weight is external, but it's like changing our narratives, changing the narratives around that. Look, as I just mentioned, I've been pregnant 8 times. I've been up and down the scale more times than anybody I know. I have been everything from a size 0 to a size 18. I have had all of those sizes in my closet at once, which has been a nightmare and totally like a separate podcast episode. What one sometimes has to do, and I had to do this too, because I was one of those quote unquote lucky, I'm being sarcastic, people who did not lose weight while breastfeeding. They always say, when you have a baby, oh, you're going to lose so much weight because breastfeeding just takes it right off of you. True for many people, not true for all people. And I was one of those people. So what I had to do was make a hard choice, right? Which was, I have this goal and ideal that I want to breastfeed my baby. That is going to require, okay, it's temporary, right? I'm going to temporarily breastfeed my baby. And that means I am going to temporarily carry more weight on my body than I would prefer. And so I had to make that sacrifice. I had to make that decision and that choice. Now, it does go a little bit deeper, right? Because it starts to mess with our insecurities and fears. And I had all of that going on. I don't feel comfortable in my own skin right now. My clothes don't fit. I'm feeling insecure. I'm not feeling like my old self. I'm just feeling like this big, frumpy, roly, soft-bodied, drippy version of myself. I don't feel like myself, right? And so what I had to do was set that aside, right? In order that it would not overshadow my bigger ultimate goal, which was to breastfeed my baby. So that's kind of what I mean by the long game. So in order to do that, right, what I'm going to have to do in my mind, right, is also think about all of the things that come with not feeling great about myself and the weight, right? So that's being positive in the way that I speak to myself internally. So it's the narrative. So I'm going to have to communicate to myself and with myself and remind myself when my feelings don't match my ultimate goal is this, when I'm feeling down on myself and not feeling, great about what I'm seeing in the mirror or what I'm feeling in my body, I have to go, okay, but wait. This is temporary and breastfeeding is temporary. And I made the goal that I wanted to breastfeed. And so I'm going to temporarily remind myself that, hey, this is short term, really, and I'm worth it. My baby is worth it. It is worth me having this ultimate goal because of all the benefits for the baby, because of the bonding between the baby and mom, that kind of thing. So what we're going to do really ultimately is focus on little mindset changes, right? That will change our perspective because we can all write a book. We all have time to write a book. If I can write a book with 8 kids and a busy household, you can write a book for sure too. And we all have different things that make us busy, and we all have different challenges. We all have different privileges. And so we're kind of all in the same pot if we want to write a book, but we just have different things. So try and relate this to your own life, okay? So I know that we're going to talk about the housekeeping and organizational challenge second, because I really want to focus first on this weight loss thing. Maybe perhaps because at the time of this recording, it's summertime, and it's just kind of one of those things that people bring up. Okay, so let's say that, oh, yes, I want to write a book, but I'm also going to try and lose weight at the same time. Well, let's look at that. Okay, what is that going to entail? Well, maybe what that's going to entail is seeing a dietitian. Maybe it is learning more about nutrition. Maybe it's learning to count your macros. Maybe it's keeping a food journal, right? Maybe it's a whole new exercise regime, right? And so all of those things, those nuts and bolts, are going to take time, not to mention meal prepping, not to mention grocery shopping. And this is like for one person, for yourself, right? So if you have a family, you also have all of that going on, right? And you still have to figure out a feeding plan for them, right? So maybe they're not interested in eating tofu and quinoa or whatever it is that you're choosing to do to lose the weight, right? Maybe, so that's all going to take time. Maybe you are going to get on a GLP-1 or GLP-2. So let's look at what that's going to entail. Again, a lot of learning curve for that, What are the possible side effects? What if you try it and you're really sick, right? That's going to take time. Not only that, but backing it up a step to get on the medication. You're going to have to go to the doctor. You're going to have to build a relationship with that doctor. You're going to have to talk about the BMI chart, which we all know is crap. You're going to have to do all of those things and convince the doctor, and the doctor needs to convince you that yes or no, whatever, this is or isn't a good plan for you. Here's why. That's all time consuming. You're going to have to get some blood work done. I mean, that's another thing you're going to have to go do. So it's not just like, yeah, I'm going to take a GLP-1 and I'm going to lose weight. These things all involve investments of time. Time that you could spend, right, writing a book. However, and this is also for another episode, but you can definitely write a book while waiting in doctors' waiting room lobbies. I've done that so many times. You can learn to sparse out your time like that so that you are using your time more effectively. But that's, again, for something else. But what I'm talking about is that high level set of goals. Maybe something like losing weight is something that is going to temporarily be something that you need to wait on. Pun intended. So in the meantime, the narrative that you can tell yourself is, I'm making one choice for now, and I'm going to circle back to the weight loss game when I have completed this goal, because this goal is temporary. This goal is writing a book, and the weight loss is more of like, that's like a whole lifestyle change, right? So that's an investment of time that is kind of like turning a large ferry boat. It's not a quick maneuver. It takes a lot of time, okay? And so it's kind of radical acceptance of that. And so let's say, for the sake of this example, you start down on that road where you've now told yourself, yeah, okay, I'm going to postpone the weight loss. And you start writing your book, and you're sitting down at your desk every day or wherever it is that you're writing, and you're like, dang it, my pants are seriously digging into my stomach. And I'm so uncomfortable, and I'm zipping myself up every single morning with like a wire coat hanger because I can't get the zipper up. So I'm having to do those maneuvers they used to do like in the 70s with the super tight jeans, right? To me, and you'll hear me say this word a lot. To me, that is not a sustainable way to live, right? You are going to have to, let's say you've chosen to postpone the weight loss. You are going to have to, in order to be at your best self, get some new pants. Okay? You're gonna have to go buy some bigger clothes. Now, I have done this too. I have done this a million times because I was in that space where I was like, I don't want to wear my pregnancy clothes anymore. And also, I really don't want to go spend money on bigger clothes. Because in my mind, I was thinking, if I do that, then I'm giving up. I'm surrendering and just saying, well, I'm an overweight person now. And that's not true either. This is temporary. Now, would I go and buy bigger pants at a really expensive store? No, I'm going to go to Walmart and get some bigger clothes that I feel good in, that I can wear temporarily until the book is finished, right? Or until the breastfeeding has been completed, right? This is not a forever thing. You don't have to change your entire wardrobe etc., etc. This is temporary. But if you go and buy bigger clothes, that will give you the ability to actually complete the task at hand, which is write the book. And you will be at a better version of yourself to do so because you can actually sit down at your desk and not be all consumed with the fact that your pants don't fit, Barbara. Do you know what I'm saying? So this is just one of those things where it's like, either way, you're not going to lose the weight today. Like, even if you were like, no, it's a priority, I'm going to postpone the book instead. Fine. However, you're not going to wave a magic wand and suddenly fit in your old clothes today. So either way, you're going to have to get some bigger pants or wear some bigger pants if you already have them. But it's like, babe, let me lovingly say, you're going to need bigger pants no matter which path you take right now. You are someone who has gained some weight, which is perfectly fine. And it doesn't make you a bad person, but it's not going to melt away right now. You're not going to snap your fingers and have it gone. So do it now, do it later, but either way, you're going to need bigger pants. That's the truth. So I bring this up because it's a way of getting so very honest with ourselves, right? And saying, I radically accept myself the way I am. I love myself, and I love myself enough to temporarily set some things aside so that I can finish this goal of writing this book. So let's look at the organizational challenge. And we're going to talk about partnership because that's going to be the communication piece of this one. Whereas with the weight loss one, it was like a self-communication narrative that we needed to change. So, of course, I have ADHD and I am naturally messy. Not all people who have ADHD are naturally messy. Some are very, very tidy. But so what I'm trying to explain is if it's a neurodivergent thing, so I'm talking about not like, I wouldn't prefer to be naturally messy. I wouldn't, right? I would prefer my spaces to always look like a magazine, right? But this is not my reality because it is not my brain, okay? So what I have learned and embraced is this involves finding a system that worked for me, and it will involve you finding a system that works for you. So as I discuss and unpack this a little bit, first I just want to remind you if this is a challenge that you could relate to and something that you would think maybe would prevent you from finishing a book, starting a book, whatever. First, I want to remind you that housework, tasks, and messiness, that is morally neutral, okay? It is not something that decreases or increases your value, okay? So if you are a person like me who is messy in nature, that does not make me a lazy person, a bad person. It makes me someone who has a different brain. Okay? So, a question in the spirit of being honest with ourselves about some of these challenges that keep us from finishing or starting our books or writing in general. A question we might want to ask ourselves is, Am I feeling devalued by my messiness because I am attaching something moral to the idea of cleanliness? And for me, that answer is definitely yes. Definitely, right? Society is pretty good at telling us that we need organized spaces. There are entire industries that support that idea. And so when we come face to face with our own organic messiness, it's natural to want to feel rejected and less than and feel like, what's wrong with me? And I can't write a book and be messy at the same time, so I have to accomplish all of this at once. It's like, no, that's way too much stuff to handle all at once, particularly if this is your challenge, right? But by the same token, let's say your partner is super clean, right? And by clean, I don't mean sanitary. That's important to have. Whether you are messy or not, being sanitary is a baseline basic, right? But if your partner is naturally organized and walks into a room, sees a pair of shoes on the floor that are a little bit helter-skelter and picks them up and places them neatly together by the front door as a set, right? That's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. So if your partner is like that, or roommate or whatever, the tendency is to think that the partner is better than you. You're just the slob. The partner is the one who has their crap together. I mean, this is just how many of us have naturally kind of grown up, is hearing those narratives, because our society is really good at trying to make us think that that is the better choice. And I think that, my first argument here is that it's really not. It's neither good nor bad. It is what it is, right? And so our challenge is, how do we get through our times of being really busy as a messy person? Let's say we've decided that we're going to set aside trying to do a house overhaul and get totally organized, right? That does not make you a bad person if you have decided to set that aside, okay? And you might need to communicate this to your partner, right? Because here's the deal. I'm going to say this with all love, right? Your partner's anxiety about having a clean and organized house is not your problem. It's not your problem. It sounds like, when I hear this from people, which I often do, sort of these mismatched partnerships or roommate configurations, it sounds like a conversation needs to be had about a way to collaborate, okay? Because it doesn't mean one person is better than the other person. And so I'll give you an example. In order for me to be a successful, organized, non-messy individual, I need some things that kind of bug my husband. I'm going to tell you what they are. I need trash cans in every single room of my house, and I need multiple in many of the rooms. Okay? I need lots of trash cans. And I need a laundry basket in every room of my house. Every single room. Because if I don't have those two things, I don't have what I need at the point of service. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to generate any trash in whatever space that is. A great example would be the car. I need a trash can in my car. If I don't have a trash can in my car, does it mean that I'm never going to generate trash? No. What it does mean is I'm going to have to figure out what to do with my trash until I get home or until I get to a gas station, a friend's house, or whatever. And a lot of times when I'm in the car and I'm rushing home, it's like we are rushing inside because we've got a school thing that night. So I have to, organize dinner and pull a rabbit out of my hat. And I'm not going to spend the extra 5-10 minutes cleaning up, tidying up the car, involving taking out all the trash, right? So I need a trash can in every space, and I need a laundry basket because a lot of times, it's sports uniforms, it's something wet from the Seattle rain, it's a hoodie that was removed because someone's now hot in the car because maybe I keep it cranked up, for example, unconfirmed, to a really unbearable eyeball melting temperature, right? Whatever it is, I need a laundry basket in every space and I need a trash can in every space so that when we need one, it's there. It's there. And at least the space is picked up. It might not be cleaned and everything has been returned to its place, but at least those things have been gathered together and the space is functional as a result. It's not like there's just friggin' trash and clothes everywhere, right? And so the hurdle and the challenge for you to get over and communicate to your partner or yourself, maybe this is another one of those self-communication things, is to go, oh my gosh, now I'm that person. I'm that person who has a lot of trash cans. Or similarly in the example from before, I'm that person who has to wear bigger pants. Well, okay, so you are the person now who has more trash cans than you personally would like. Or maybe somebody came in your house, your mother-in-law came in your house and said, gee, you have a lot of trash cans. So now you sort of adopted that, like, oh, I'm the person with a lot of trash cans. Because people have a tendency to make fun of people who have set up systems that are opposite from what that person thinks is a conventional system, an acceptable amount of trash cans for one house, right? And that's on them. That sadly is on them. And we all wish they weren't that way, but sometimes people are. They're just rude like that, right? So what I'm saying is if I'm trying to write a book and I have a positive communication style going for myself and with my partner, that is going to increase the quality of my life quickly, right? As I'm communicating my needs, I'm saying, hey, I need these extra laundry baskets and trash cans in every room, stat right away. That's going to increase the quality of my life quickly. Because guess what? I'm going to be actually doing that thing that I said I've always wanted to do, is write a book, or whatever the background is, the background reason why you want to write one. Here's another practical tip that you can do. And again, you have to break that narrative that's going to go, oh my gosh, now I'm the person who doesn't fold clothes. Stop folding your clothes. Do it temporarily while you are writing your book. What I mean by that is, open your drawers and throw the underwear in. Why do you need to fold it? Right? Throw the t-shirts in. Why do you need to fold the t-shirts in their drawer? And you can say, well, Amy, they're going to get so wrinkled. Well, yeah, except for Martha, they were wrinkled sitting in the dryer for 2 days when you were trying to get to them, but your life was lifing, right? And you were trying to write a book. So how about instead of saying to yourself, well, I'm going to get to those wrinkled clothes in the dryer and I'm going to take them all out and I'm going to fold them all, and that's going to take a long time, and then I'm going to put them all away. How about this? We just remove them from the dryer and we pitch them into the drawers where they belong, right? And maybe the pile for the dry cleaning, we just throw it on the pile. So there are more efficient ways to do some of this stuff, but a lot of us just need to give ourselves that permission, which is hard. Because again, these are societal norms that come from our parents, that come from other people, peers even, and we just need to, if someone says something to us or is rude to us about it, that's really truly on them. Because the point is, what matters is the communication with myself. Hey, big picture here, I'm completing a goal that I've been wanting to complete. So the last example that I want to bring up real quick is paper plates. Okay? There have been times in my life where I have relied fully on paper plates. Maybe it's right after I just had a baby. Maybe it's when my husband is out of town. I still do that all the time. If my husband is out of town, I don't do any dishes. You want to know why? Because I don't normally do any dishes. Would you like to know why that is? That's because my husband has told me for the 28 years that we have been married that I don't load a dishwasher correctly. Now, in my mind, if the blade is spinning at the top, you're good. That is a working, correctly loaded dishwasher. Not so in his mind. But you know what? That's on him. Because now for 28 years, he's been loading the dishwasher and I haven't had to touch it. So, I mean, in my mind, the joke's on him. Because I'm like, dude, like that's crazy town. If I were to load a dishwasher, I mean, I would throw everything in so that it's not broken, right? And so that we don't have like knives poking up from the silverware caddy thing. And I would throw in 2 dishwashing pods or just wash the cycle twice. And I mean, so what I'm saying is there is like crusted food on these dishes. I'm not going to pre-wash them, not doing all that, okay? That's what I would do because that's the most effective way to do things. And that's how I operate, right? But not for him. He's a different person than I am. So, dishes to me are a huge time sucker. So that's one thing that I allow myself to do is use paper plates and utensils. Now, are you going to get people who environmentally disagree with this? Of course. And if that is you, I would like to say that I am sorry. However, I have been given permission by 2 of my psychiatrists to go ahead and use paper plates and utensils and disposable cups. And not only temporarily, but they have said, hey, if you want to do that forever, it's totally fine. Reason being is, right, that my personal sacrifice of using glass jars for Tupperware and, using dishes that go in the dishwasher and all of this, that is not going to make a hill of beans difference in the environmental impact. Like, we need global political change on these issues. And so if I use paper plates or not is not a big whoop at all to the environment. Me as myself, one person making that choice, it's not going to change the world. However, it is going to change my life. And if it changes my life, then it allows me and frees me up to do the things that I need to do that are ultimately goals, right? That I have for impacting the world from my own space and my own corner. So without those boundaries set in place, without those little accommodations being made, I won't be able to do something that is for me. Yes, writing a book, a goal. Yes, so it sounds like that is a selfish thing, but also it's my creative outlet gift to the world. And by the world, I mean whoever else can relate to it, because I believe, this is just for me, that connecting to other people, and as Ram Dass said, walking each other home, is like the secret to life. It's connection with other human beings. It's the melding of the human heart with other human hearts. And I believe a huge way to do that is through writing and sharing your story. So it all is a domino effect to the other things. And so if it has to start with paper plates, that's what it has to start with. Okay? So it's all about energy allocation and making those hard choices, right? And telling ourselves, this is temporary. As I wrap up, I'm just going to say that we're busy people. I know that. And we can write books. We can do that. We can do it in any scenario. But we're going to have to temporarily renegotiate some of the tasks and some of the priorities in our life. It's not forever, right? We just have to have that conversation with ourselves and remind ourselves, instead of saying, oh my God, no, I can't do that. I can't give up my jazzercise class because Sally Ann is going to wonder what happened to me. Oh, so that's more important to you than sharing your message with the world? Like, you're going to go back to jazzercise class. You will, if that's a priority to you, right? So it's about these difficult choices that involve time management and efficiency, right? Priorities. You just have to be one of those people who focuses on the long game to keep that goal in mind. Remember that you want to be a person who has finished your book and not brutally dismembered your sense of self-love in the process. And all of that requires the hard work of making these temporary choices or setting up systems that help support us. And that's done by engaging that perspective shift and positively reaffirming those choices as we go along. All right. Be kind. Rewind. Thank you for the honor of your time. Take what you like and leave the rest behind.
Thank you so much for listening to Eternally Amy, a mum of eight's journey from jail to joy. Amy Liz Harrison is a best-selling author, speaker, 12-step coach, meditation teacher, and recovery advocate. To find out more, please visit amylizharrison.com. You can keep up with Amy on all platforms by following @AmyLizHarrison. Please subscribe and review this podcast. It means so much to us if you do.